Good morning, good evening, and good night. Today, this subject really strikes me as like one of the most important subjects that I talk about all the time with like different friends or different situations that people bring up to me, and it's the fact that like people that are mean, angry, say these horrible things, also are raised from horrible environments. And if you're raised with pain, the only language you speak in is anger and frustration, and you explode on the world because you can't explode on anything else, and sometimes that becomes like a coping mechanism. It's why so many times people go to games and they like play games and they just yell and scream, and they like all these people are so hateful sometimes, is because these same people come from an environment that is not well, trauma, pain, all these different things, circumstances, financial circumstances, whatever. Um, it's the attitude they were raised with, that feeling of, oh, I'm hurt, I'm scared, I feel like I'm in pain, can someone help me? And they were taught to, no, I don't validate your feelings, be strong, you should be strong, or whatever. And it just bottles up, and then they let it out in other means like that. Like if you're in an environment where no one listens to your sadness, you just end up, yelling and screaming to be heard, to be, doesn't, it's not obviously it's not the right way, but they just thought it was the right thing in the moment, and they, inherently, like, of course, I'm not saying that just because that person's bad doesn't make it good, it doesn't make it, positive. I'm just talking about where does this come from, and that's why I feel like I deal with a healthy environment in terms of, a healthy mindset in terms of when I see angry people, or people that are angry, people that are, saying mean things to me, I see it as, they're lashing out, or they're going through something, or, they don't understand me, they don't know me, so why should it affect me, right? They're they were raised with different circumstances, and they're lashing out on me, so what? I don't care, it doesn't affect me. I'm not talking to them anymore, clearly, because and it doesn't matter. So yeah, as long as you understand that concept, I feel like it becomes a more healthier mindset. I just feel like a lot of the time we judge inherently, because we try to build a profile of a person. Like we kind of, when we meet someone, you're like, okay, this person, works at this place, does this, they seem pretty nice. Okay, oh, they do this. Okay, in the middle, they seem all right. Oh, they do this sort of thing. Yeah, well, I don't know about that. It's like we try to sort the things of what we know about a person and decide if it's good, if that person's a good person or not a good person. And sometimes that includes, them being mean, them saying certain things, them doing certain things, right? Their actions. And then, but we don't think about sometimes is that, that could be a sign that it's from their childhood, from their different experiences that they've had in life that has caused them to kind of, act in a different way, act in a aggressive and protective manner. And, it goes both ways. We sometimes look at one trait of a person and think it's positive or negative, right? But that's just not true. We can't look at one trait of a person and decide that they're a good person. If someone plays basketball and, I look at LeBron James, I see that he's popular, he plays basketball. Can I say he's a good person? Can I say he's a bad person? No, I can't. I can't take one trait of a person and be like, yep, I think this person's great. I can say that he's great at basketball because I see his stats and I see his, that I can judge from that aspect because it's related to it. But I can't, describe a whole person's mental space, a whole person's attitude towards other things based on one aspect of a person. That just doesn't make sense, and it's not right for me to say. And it just feels like these people that are angry, they keep being angry, and then what I think from it is that they get this rage and they rage on other people, and then those people obviously don't accept them. Accept other people that are raised from the same childhood and scream the same things, and they think it's okay, and then they continue to think it's okay. But what I try to look at it is if they're in a state that, they seem like they're trying to change or trying to be a better person, I try to, educate them and try to, look at it from a different angle. Because I've seen different people that like I'm not friends with them, but you know, I've talked to them, I've, you know, gotten to know them, and some of these people are, you know, say different words, and you know, they're a little bit edgy, some would say, but I understand them, and I understand where they come from, and I know what the meaning behind their words mean. Not, you know, it's not in a negative manner. It's a way to cope. It's a way to express things a little bit more vulgar than, you know, usual. And yeah, I like understanding that, and I kind of like wanted to express it in this video. Feel like, you know, what is the source of anger? You think about what the sources of anger is like the inability to understand, you know, the inability to cry, the inability to do something, you know. Why do you get angry in an argument? Is that, you know, the other person's not understanding you, the other person is doing something you don't like, you know, it's the inability for them to change, it's the inability for them to understand you, you know, it's some sort of, it's a secondary emotion, it comes from somewhere, you know, anger doesn't exist on its own, it's derived from something, and so I want you to understand that, and maybe, you know, when you see a person that's a little bit more mean to you or others, try to look at it from that perspective so we can, you know, treat them a little bit like family, you know. I understand, of course, there's, you know, way more severe circumstances that, you know, it's just unacceptable, and you just have to be healthy for yourself, and, you know, take it into your own hands, as in like breaking bridges or whatever. But I'm just bringing that up as a thought because I think it's very important. But yeah, that's pretty much it in today's video. I just thought it was a cool concept to talk about, and I think a lot of people don't really talk about it and bring it up, so I kind of wanted to bring it up. But I appreciate you watching. I appreciate every comment, like, subscribe, everything like that. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.